to Talking Restaurants with your hosts, Chuck and Ken, your partners in building profits and creating more time.
Welcome to Talking Restaurants. I'm Ken Dudak.
And I'm Chuck Villafranca.
All right, today, Chuck, I'm going to introduce this because this is exciting to me. We're going to talk about food costs. This is part two on our food cost issue. Not really part two. This is more part three of our restaurant profitability. This is our second part on food cost. And Chuck, you do a phenomenal job of doing an example of cutting and things like that. So I'm going to let you take over the show today and do your thing because you are phenomenal at it. So I'm going to step off the camera and allow you to do your thing. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you Chuck Villafranca today. And you're going to love every part of this. This is phenomenal. So this is a show you're going to watch several times because this is such good information. So, Chuck?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in today. What we're going to talk about with profitability and food costs and how it ties together. So let's talk about cuttings. Now, when we have, especially our center of the plate items, our strip steaks, our prime rib, our top rounds, our seafood, the center of the plate items, it's very, very important that you do cuttings before you decide what product you're going to use. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples here today, but there's many, many examples. You need to do this with every center of the plate item because in many cases, the quality items are less money and more profit to you and more consistency to your customer, and it's just a win-win-win. So we're gonna start with strip loin for your strip steaks. So let's take a USDA choice 0x1 strip loin. By the time it's gonna come in around a 17-pound average. And for anybody who may not know what a 0x1 is, that is the tail of the loin. It goes from 0 inches to 1 inch. It kind of tapers along, and you'll get your tail will be no bigger than 1 inch. So let's just say we're paying $5.78 per pound, and now we have to trim it because we certainly can't leave all that fat on for the guest. So we're going to trim that steak up, or the strip loin. We're going to trim it all up. You're starting with 17 pounds, and by the time you're done, and some will have the back strap on it. Some will have some fat on the back. Depending if you want to serve a 1/4 inch fat or if you want to serve an 1/8 inch fat, you got to take that all into consideration. So we're going to say for cutting sakes, we're going to end up with 12.5 pounds when you're done. So you take that 12.5 pounds and let's say we're going to get 17 to 18 steaks out of that, maximum, if you're doing a 10-ounce strip steak. So now we're cutting that. You're getting 17 to 18 steaks. So let's take 18. We'll even go on the high side. And your steak cost now is going to be $5.46 per steak. Now, if you buy them cut, you're looking at $10.50 to $11.50 per pound based on your vendor. It can vary, in there. And again, depending on how you want your vendor to cut it. Do you want an 1/8 inch fat cap? Do you want a 1/4 inch fat cap? Do you want a 1 inch tail? Do you want no tail? That's all going to depend on what you tell your vendor and what your specs are for your product. So let's just say it's $11 a pound. We're going to go in the middle. You're going to get your cost now is going to go up to $6.87 per steak, but they're all going to be center cut. You're not going to get the vein end or a semi-center with a partial vein, and you and your wife or you and your significant other goes out to dinner, and one of you gets a beautiful center-cut strip steak, eats like butter, it's great, and your partner gets a vein steak and is very unhappy, and nobody wants to come back to your restaurant because there's nothing worse than biting into a strip and chewing it like a piece of gum. Nothing worse. So you're going to gain consistency. You're going to gain quality. So it's a little bit more money per steak. But guess what? You can now sell that steak easily for $2 or $3 more because every time your guest comes in, he or she is going to get a great steak every single time. They're going to return. They're going to tell their friends. It really turns into a lot more money than you would think. So let's say we got $6.87 a steak. And now we're going to add in $1.25 for the odds and ends. You know, your baked potato, your vegetable, your salad, whatever you decide to put on your strip. So now we take that $6.87, we add $1.25 to it, and your cost becomes $8.12 for that plate. Now that is an easy, let's say, family style restaurant, nothing too fancy, you know, not fast food. You're going to get $21.99 for that steak. And you're going to pull a profit of $13.87 every single time you sell a steak. You're going to know what you make. Your food cost is going to go $36.92, which is, if you're a family style restaurant, you're going to be at that 35 range. So it's maybe a tad high, but you're taking $14 every single time to the bank. And let's remember, folks out there, that a food cost percentage is a guideline. You don't take percentages to the bank, you take dollars to the bank. So we're going to keep that in mind as you go along, because you can have a 50% food cost on something, but you're making $16, $17 on that plate. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So we're going to wrap up the strip steak, because you're going to also get people coming in. They're going to buy a drink. They might buy a dessert. And I'm telling you, your repeat business is going to go through the roof if you start serving top quality in everything that you do. So my next favorite one is a top round. Now this is going to work to your advantage, you know, like the turkeys will and the seafood will. So let's take a USDA choice, all fat, you know, top round, not trimmed, and let's just say it's $2.09 a pound. And we're going to say, you know, they come in 23 to 27 pound average, you know, based on the cow and how big it is in the season and things like that. So let's just say we're going to take a 25 pound average. So your top round cost is going to be $52.25 for the entire top round. Now, by the time you trim all that up and get it down to what we're going to talk about next, which is a cap off USDA choice denuded. Super clean, all done, right into the oven. There's no mess, no fuss, no knife cuts. And that's another thing with the strips. You know, we didn't even add in labor. So we'll get to that at the end of the top round. All right, so we're talking $2.90 a pound after you trim everything up and get it down to a cap off denuded like you would buy it. So a denuded cap off choice top round right now is going for about $2.38 a pound. And it's going to be 13 to 16 pound average. So we're going to take 14.5 will be your average when that comes in. So your cost for that top round is now $34.51 compared to $52.25. So you can see the $18 difference there per top round. So if you're serving 5 ounces per top round, your cost is going to be 74 cents to serve a 5 ounce beef on wick. That's pretty good. So beef on wick, depending on your restaurant, $8, $9, $10. So do the math on that. That's $8, $9 profit right there. So we're looking at a total of 52 cents a pound less buying a quality product, no labor, no knife cuts, consistency for your restaurant. And when somebody bites into a beef on wick or a roast beef sandwich or a roast beef club or a roast beef dinner, there's no fat. They're not biting into that grizzle, and out comes, you know, 4 ounces of the beef because they couldn't bite through the fat. That's huge when you bite into a sandwich. Absolutely huge. So you need to take a look at every single one of your items when you're doing this. You'll cut your food cost just by doing cuttings on all your center of the plate items, which is everything that, you know, moves through your business. You're going to, I want to say, you're going to dump 5%, 4 to 5% off your food cost if you take the time to do cuttings on all, like I said, all the center of the plate items, everything that's on your menu. And you're going to be able to price it a little bit more than you would normally because everything is quality. And when people come into your restaurant and they start eating the quality, that's what's going to bring them back. So let's put aside the cuttings right now. That's 2 examples. There's many, many more. So we're going to put that aside right there just on cuttings. Now let's talk about specials. Specials are huge. You cannot take a current menu item and make a special and lower the price. You're just telling your guest that you could sell it cheaper on a Tuesday than you can during the rest of the week. So make sure when you're doing your specials that you're giving great menu descriptions for the special that you're running, and that is something that's not on your menu. And you could reach out online. There are so many ideas online, so many, from your meats to your chicken to your seafood to your, you name it. There's just so many options online. Make sure it's not something that you're currently have on your menu. I can't stress that enough. Secondly, make sure that it's already in your inventory. Don't be buying something special for a special unless you're going to get a free sample from a vendor because you want to try something new. And we talked about that earlier with vendors, that you could reach out to them if you want to run some specials, or you're thinking about some summer items or some seasonal items to put on your menu. Reach out to your vendors. They'll give you a case or two to try it out to see how it goes. But again, I'm going to stress one last time, do not take something off of your menu and lower the cost. Just because you're out of time or you can't think of nothing and you just say, okay, put a strip steak on there and lower it $2. Because that's going to hurt you. All right, we're going to move on to purchasing. Now, when you're doing your purchasing, do you know what your PARs are in your business? Do you know how many cases of this or that? How many cases of fries are you going through? How many cases of top round are you going through? How many cases of prime rib are you going through? How many pounds of ham are you going through? This is crucial when you're doing your ordering. You could get this down to a science because purchasing allows you to keep the money in your pocket, not on your shelf. You cannot pay the electric bill with a box of prime rib. So with that being said, people over purchase, man. I've seen it time and time again. They're doing it. I don't know. Let's say their food cost is 35%, and they're doing $20,000. Right? That's $7,000 in food usage.
It's crazy.
Yet there's a $14,000 inventory. Yeah. But you use $7,000 for the week. Yeah. How do you carry $14,000? You'd be surprised. That's not exaggerating at all. So, with that being said, make sure you're purchasing properly. Again, you can call the 1-800 number if you're curious about PARs and how to set them up and how to get them to be accurate. We can definitely help you with that. Very, very important. And it's going to control your waste because you're going to have first in, first out. You're going to go through your product faster. It's going to be fresher. All those things are involved in purchasing. So, and then we're going to go right into waste from there. You need to have a waste sheet in your kitchen. Make sure that your cooks and your servers and everybody knows it's not a punishment. So a punishment, if they think it's a punishment, they're going to lie. You just tell them that you want to know so you can factor that into your food cost. And when you put a waste sheet up, you're going to notice that your waste is going to go down because everybody becomes more aware of what's going on. So we're going to wrap this up with waste, and we're going to do our part 3 segment is going to be on having a system in place, a profit and loss statement that runs all of your numbers, food costs, operating costs, labor costs, breaks everything down by category, chicken, seafood, dairy, produce, and on, electric, gas, phone, and it's going to break, within those categories, it's going to break down, let's just say meats. You'll have your top round, your ground beef, your strip loins, and you'll have a food cost by item. This way, if there's any issues, you could directly target them immediately to save money. And at that, we're going to wrap it up there.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in.
Well, thank you, Chuck. You've made this episode very easy for me. I feel like I worked really hard today. You see our website on the screen below here. Feel free to come visit our website and download our app for the Pocket Restaurant Consultant. That's out now. And we're going to sign off. We're talking restaurants, and I'm Ken Dudek.
And I'm Chuck Fullafranca. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.